What fake thing that happens in movies pisses you off? Digging graves in wooded areas. There are freaking roots everywhere. You can't dig a 6-foot grave with a pair of shovels in an hour. That crap takes time. 18-volt reciprocating saw and a few cheap 8-10 inches blades. Shove it in the dirt and cut around the border of where you are going to dig. Crisscross an X into the area once. Done deal. Saved hours when digging in my heavily wooded yard. Addendum, saw safety still applies, so always wear gloves and don't aim the back end of the saw at your goodies in case of kickback. Mafia guys, mobsters or hitmen, people who are in the business of killing people and disappearing inconveniences are intentionally clumsy or stupid when it comes to kill the protagonist. No double tap, overcomplicated killing, taking their sweet time, not putting more than 1 or 2 henchmen for a particularly dangerous hostage. 1. Where a witness confesses on the stand. 2. There's sudden surprise prosecution evidence. 3. Witnesses monologuing on the stand. 4. Minimal hearsay objections. 5. So much forensic evidence. Drives me batty. Are people shooting at you? Take cover behind anything. Car doors, drywall, couches, tables, cardboard boxes. It doesn't matter. Everything is bulletproof. The fresh out of college student scoring a great apartment in a swanky part of town while working minimum wage job for themselves. In reality, you'd have 4 roommates for such a place, or you're living in a dump in a bad part of town. And they and their friends always get the same table at their usual hangout, like it's reserved specifically for them. After a hit to the head or being knocked unconscious, people are fine after a minute. Concussions don't seem to exist in movies. It's super bad for you. Whenever some idiot is running on foot while being chased by a car that's trying to run them down, they without fail always run straight down the middle of the street, when all they have to do is simply run off to the side where there's trees and lampposts and plenty of other crap to block them from getting hit. In that case, I always root for whoever's driving. This is common when running away from almost anything. Big boulder chasing you down. Run straight, never turn. Some tall skinny pillar falling down. Run lengthwise. Don't try to sidestep it. Or when they do run to the side, it's always at the last second for style points, when they could have sidestepped it from the very beginning, but it wouldn't have looked as cool. I know it's the most common one, but since it hasn't been mentioned yet, I'll mention it. Gun reloads, or lack thereof, and the insane amount of ammunition the protagonist is carrying. The fact that ammo apparently weighs nothing as well. That crap is heavy. People sneaking around inside air ducts. Don't get me wrong. In big buildings you absolutely can walk around in there. I've done it a lot. But 1. They're dirty as sin, not gleaming metal. 2. There are screws poking in there and sharp edges everywhere. 3. There are lots of barriers to movement. Fans, filters, humidifiers, dampers and fire dampers. All of those would stop your progress. 4. It's not a quiet process. That metal bongs and clunks like crazy under your weight. Reminds me of the Mythbusters episode where Adam tries sneaking through a duct using magnets and it sounds like a dang cannon. Movie depictions of childbirth are often ridiculously wrong. They make it look so easy, quick, and clean. This is not the case. The baby comes out clean and 3 months old. My kid came out of a cut in my wife's stomach, 9.5 pounds, and looked like a screaming bloody fat purple sumo wrestler. Seeing my wife with her stomach open like that has been scarred into my mind. I'm glad she had the screen and couldn't see. Fire, lava, etc. has no heat. People can be suspended over a volcano, or in the case of The Hobbit, surf on molten metal and no one gets so much as a blister. Add to this, characters falling into the lava and sinking like it's just glowing yellow pudding. Setting aside that they'd probably actually burst into flame and steam on contact, if not before. Lava still has the density of rock. You ain't gonna sink into that. The old out of the blue intentional T-bone car accident. Like the bad guy is psychic and knew when and where to be, and is totally immune to the flow of traffic so they could time it just right to T-bone someone in an intersection. Absurd. Not to mention it never seems to actually succeed in causing the death of the intended victim. Nor does the bad guy ever seem to get injured at all. I wonder how many times the bad guy missed trying to do that before. Like he sets up his run for the T-bone but doesn't realize the intended victim stopped at a previous red light or stop sign, so the timing was all off. Setting off fire alarm. Fire sprinklers. 1. Pulling a fire alarm will not activate fire sprinklers. 2. Setting off a single sprinkler head will not set off the entire system. Each fire sprinkler has either a glass bulb with heat sensitive liquid or a metal fusible link. You need to essentially break the bulk link on each individual sprinkler to allow the water to flow. 3. The water leaving the sprinkler system will be black from the years of corrosion that occurs inside due to the stagnant water. You do not want to be around this water when it comes out. I designed these systems. I know how this crap works. If I am not wrong, you are the expert. It takes a significant amount of heat also. Gift wrapping the box and the lid separately. I mean, I get why they do it, multiple takes, but it always sticks out to me. Also, every bag of groceries has French bread. All the groceries, apart from the French bread, are spherical items like oranges and melons, and they always drop them and they roll away. EMT's doctor's random hero person using a defibrillator on a person that has flatlined. That is not how it works. You shock a flatline and all you do is make the patient even more dead. Flatliners get drugs to get their hearts beating, and then get shocked if that beat is abnormal. Most modern needs won't even let you shock someone if they're flatlining, or if they don't have an arrhythmia. When the plot necessitates the protagonist to be unconscious for several hours due to a blow to the head, then he/she just regains consciousness, shakes their head a few times, and is back to normal. I've had several concussions from sports in my life, and only one where I lost consciousness, and that was for maybe several seconds. For that one I spent weeks fighting nausea, headaches, and vision problems. My mood was impacted for months. There's no way I could just get up and start kicking butt after being out for several hours. If you're out for several hours from a blow to the head, it's pretty unlikely you will ever wake up. When watching a show with intelligence operatives or some top secret command facility, everyone has Bluetooth earbuds and are handing each other classified files on USB sticks. In reality, bringing wireless devices and portable media like that into a top secret classified facility would be punishable by up to 5 years in prison. In British soaps, which are shite in general, everyone goes to the pub every day but no one ever gets drunk. They also order a pint, take one sip and then just leave. Okay, but please tell me that your quaint country villages really are high society murder mills though. I've watched enough BBC TV to know they're the most dangerous place on earth. When they give a person CPR and the person walks away unscathed. When you give proper CPR, you are essentially breaking ribs to pump the heart, and sure, it doesn't happen to everyone, but still see a doc after that, and anything medically related like EpiPens being used, then magically all normal. All of these require being looked at a doctor emergency care directly afterward. Women's hair is always perfect after a crazy action sequence. They're also wearing heels all the time, no matter what crazy stunts they're doing. This one makes me crazy. If your job involves running, jumping, fighting, or any sort of physical activity at all, you don't wear stilettos. Doesn't pee me off, but as a paraplegic, whenever someone in a movie is supposed to be disabled and they're using some crappy fold-up wheelchair that you would see in a hospital or Walmart, anyone who lives in a wheelchair and has some minimal insurance or medical assistance would have a much better chair. I'm currently sitting with about $4,000 under my butt, paid about $500 after insurance. The only time someone would be using one of those crappy wheelchairs would be if they were recently injured or are temporarily injured. My dad works on a spinal cord injury ward. Most of the guys have power chairs and speeding is an actual issue. Romantic dramas. Some stupid miscommunication that could have been resolved with 5 minutes of conversation and a phone call turns into some feature-length bulls. When they take a drink out of an obviously empty cup and don't even bother pretending to swallow the drink. Is it so hard to just have some water in the cup? Or when they set down a cup and you can hear that the cup is empty. The phone rings and the actor picks up the handset, listens for 2 seconds. Oh really? 1 second later, when 1 second later, "I'll be right there," hangs up without saying goodbye. The actor turns around and relays a 30 seconds of details that he just learned in only 4 seconds. The home screen on the phone also being visible and clearly not in a call. In action movies, the hero, often alone, faces an army of elite trained veterans armed to the teeth, but they can't seem to know how to shoot, take cover, use tactics or fight. When an actor clearly has no idea how to play the instrument they're holding, they don't have to be an expert, but Christ, someone show them where their fingers are supposed to go, or stop focusing the shot on their fingers. Flipped very well in School of Rock, where Jack Black is an accomplished musician, and the kids in the band really did play their instruments sang. When someone is driving and they look away from the road by looking at the person in the passenger seat for a prolonged amount of time, or when they are constantly turning the wheel and the car doesn't move. Things like that bother me too much, lol. When someone is driving and they look away from the road by looking at the person in the passenger seat for a prolonged amount of time. I've seen people do this in real life and it is terrifying. College professors being shown living in giant Victorian houses with massive libraries. I used to be a professor and can confirm that the pay isn't that good. People giving insulin to a diabetic who is crashing. This pisses me off because it's the wrong thing to do and it perpetuates a dangerous way of thinking in people that aren't familiar with diabetes. In sex scenes, when no one struggles to get their clothes off, no fumbling, there are no awkward bodily sounds, it's just perfect foreplay and sex. Come on. I planned ahead and just wear a tearaway jumpsuit at all times. No one wants to have sex with me. I think it might be the jumpsuit, but if and when the time comes, I'll be ready. The doorbell rings and someone answers almost immediately. There is a delicious breakfast on the table, but everyone grabs a piece of bread and runs off to work. Person at the door impatiently rings the doorbell again like 10 seconds after the first ring. If you the Cyril, you're just a dickhead. The hammer cocking sound when the character is holding a striker-fired pistol, racking the slide of a pump-action shotgun after the character is aiming it at someone in a life-death situation, and no live round ejects. Dumbass, you were aiming an empty weapon at someone, lol. No matter if someone is punched or stabbed or shot, they go down in one hit unless they are a main character. No pain, moaning or groaning, nor just conveniently down and quiet so as not to steal attention. Pretty much any movie or TV show that takes place in a high school, the protagonists are always skipping class in the middle of the day in order to go on some grand adventure to find themselves, or investigate a crime that the police can't solve, or to explore a spooky graveyard, etc. YMMV based on genre. Even worse is when the protagonists all decide to meet in the library during the middle of the school day in order to have the serious talk they need to have. Teachers and other students are always milling about in the background and none of them notice the group of students skipping class. Also, don't get me started on the high school freshman played by a 22-year-old actor who needs to shave every day. I swear, no one who works in Hollywood has ever actually been in a high school. Oh, also the shoving the new kid into the lockers. Like that just doesn't happen. When a character gets a full cup of a drink with a straw and they sip and it makes a slurping noise. Drinking through a straw doesn't make a slurping sound until the near end of the drink. Two tall ships with the wind behind them cannot sail directly at each other. I'm looking at you, Jack Sparrow. Sail tall ships. Captain Jack Sparrow. When getting shot, stabbed, bones broken and beaten seems to have no physical detriment on a character. Get shot in the leg, still able to run. Stabbed in the back, still able to finish a fight. Ridiculous. Guns that click and rattle and make all sorts of noise with the slightest movement. A hammerless semi-automatic pistol clearly making the sound of a revolver hammer being cocked. Yep, if a gun is rattling when you move it, it's broken. Find a new one. A relatively small woman beats 5 large guys in hand-to-hand combat. I grew up with 5 brothers. Had to learn to be tough. Oh, and they never get injured, only a small cut on the cheek. Characters in period dramas complaining about corsets. 1. Half the time, it takes place in a period where corsets weren't invented yet, so complaining about tight lacing doesn't make any sense. 2. It's about as accurate as a modern character complaining about the confines of a bra. There are absolutely people I rule who find bras uncomfortable, but most people wear them anyway because all our clothing assumes you're wearing one and you need something to keep the badonkers in place. Corsets served a similar function, and so even people who found them uncomfortable would at least know how to wear them because of how ubiquitous they are. When parents never have their baby with them and make no mention of a babysitter, those mfs follow you around like crazy. Being able to leave the house alone like it's nothing? Absurd. Lawyers walking up to the witness or the jury. You are not allowed anywhere near either of those things. You stay behind the desk. The bailiff moves evidence around. The only time you go towards anyone is the judge if they approve a sidebar. There was a lock in my house I needed to open. I bought lock picking tools on Amazon. Sure, I'm on a list now. I YouTubed it and picked the lock. How effortless they make it look in movies is ridiculous. It takes a little effort, people. Lock picking lawyer has joined the chat. People in real life use toothpaste when brushing their teeth. Somehow there is always a parking spot in front of the building you need to go in. All building ventilation shafts are man-sized. Most high school kids do not call other high school kids by their last name. Hey, Johnson, gonna beat you up after class. Need a vital piece of information to solve a case? A convenient newscast will tell you about it. A shot from a .38 special will not knock you 20 feet backwards. And the Chekhov's gun is always so obvious. Main character gets a job in mall security. Early on there's a display of a motorcycle. Yup, he's definitely going to chase someone or run away from someone on that same motorcycle in about 20 minutes. Quite a few people at my high school got called by their last name. It wasn't necessarily a bullying thing. Sometimes someone just started doing it and it sticked. Got my own share of it, both from bullies and from people that were just used to calling me by my last name. In a lot of movies, I've seen people spin their car around, slam it into reverse, and drive backwards at full speed while weaving or maneuvering with ease. You can't do that. First of all, you can't go highway speeds in reverse. Second, the reverse gear is a spur gear and it will not like it if you try to engage while still moving at speed. Finally, try making turning the steering wheel all crazy when driving even quarter throttle in reverse. Actually, don't do that because it's dangerous. There's a reason all steering components are in the front of the vehicle. Stability. Also, there is no production level vehicle that is equipped with a suspension capable of jumping multiple feet in the air, landing, and continuing to drive. If you do that, you will shoot your shock strut assembly into the engine bay, and your car will not be happy. The transmission Honda requires a few seconds to even switch from drive to reverse. I take comfort knowing that I'll never be CR-jacked by a superhero chasing a bad guy on the freeway. When they need a blood sacrifice and slice the palm of their hand. Like bro, try your earlobe or your forehead, you will not believe how much blood you get without risking important structures or having to wait for that nasty butt cut to heal. Similarly, deeply stabbing someone at a 90-degree angle and somehow getting a blood sample. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.